The continent for three realms lives to pass through. The continent for three realms lives to pass through is a mysterious one. From the perspective of the material world, it cannot be found at all in the universe. The continent is just like a miniature of the Earth universe. That is to say, the Earth universe is the multiplied version of the continent for three realms lives to pass through. However, it is not the plain multiplication, because the God of the heaven world going to the continents for inspection, the Buddha or God from the celestial world going to the mortal world for survey or another cycle of life, or the people of the mortal world heading towards the celestial world due to their successful self-refinery, have to pass the continent for three realms lives to pass through. Only after entering the space tunnel can we see the outline of the continent for three realms lives to pass through. But it doesn't mean that each person, Buddha or God, who has entered the space tunnel can see its overall outline. In most of the cases, they just pass by the continent. For example, the people of the mortal world who have had the perfect human nature enter the space tunnel after their death. At the end of the space tunnel, they will see a colorful life bridge, the passage to the continent for three realms lives to pass through. After they pass the colorful life bridge, the administration of the continent will, in accordance with their spiritual nature, send them to the 1,000-year world, just like sending a fax. The people cannot stay in the continent for three realms lives to pass through. If the heaven world decides to send a celestial being to the mortal world to accomplish a mission, they will first summon him or her to the continent for three realms lives to pass through before faxing the celestial being to the mortal world. The continent for three realms lives to pass through is like this in my eyes. After passing the colorful life bridge, we can see a rainbow heaven gate. Looking into the gate, there seems to be a colorful tunnel. After walking into the gate, we can find there are 36 doors along the tunnel standing opposite to each other. At the end of the tunnel is a brilliant radiance. Looking into the first door, I saw the burning fires with the extreme heat. Many people were in the fires crying and moaning, suffering from the scorched skin and flesh, which was really brutal. The angel said to me, "This is the inflaming layer. They are suffering because it's their retribution. All people who had been killing or torturing others have to endure the sufferings here." Seeing into the second door, I found the ice blocks and cold winds inside. Many people were frozen in the ice layers, unable to move or cry. The chilly cold air penetrated their skins and bones, causing severe pain in the body. The angel told me timely, "This is the frozen layer. One good turn deserves answer. They had done many bad things in the mortal world and they deserve it. You don't have to show mercy to them." I looked into the third door and was frightened. It was really a horrible world. I saw a man trying all the means to hide himself when numerous monsters, devils, goblins, and ghosts were chasing him. He rushed to a tree and stood against it, trying to hide himself from them. Unexpectedly, the tree stretched out its hairy, bloody, and thin hands in front of his eyes, then towards his neck. He ran away scared and came to a rock, standing against it. Suddenly he felt someone scratching his back. He looked back and cried, "Oh my God!" A bloody head was on his shoulder with the green eyes looking straight at him. He was so scared that he rushed forward. Nevertheless, the ground where his feet stood cracked and sunk him. He looked down and saw thousands of poisonous snakes and centipedes were gazing him at about a dozen of meters below him. Many snakes began to climb towards him. I got sweated and dared not to see any more. The angel said, "This is the hell world. Those who had domineered and forced people out of their living have to endure the sufferings here after their death. Otherwise the spirits of the people prosecuted by them would cry in front of the heaven world gate, making a lot of noise and chaos." In the fourth door I saw many scenes. In one scene there was thunder, lightning, and strong wind. The grass and flowers trembled in the wind and the trees swung trying to keep its branches unbroken. In one scene there was scorching sunshine that made the land crack. The trees, grass, and flowers curled in the heat trying to keep alive. In one scene there was comfortable sunshine and breeze. All things were flourishing. But when I looked carefully, I found the grass, flowers, and trees were suffering human chopping, house treading, sheep and insect biting. In the last scene there was heavy snow and the grass and trees were withering. The angel explained, "This is the plant world. The trees, grass, and flowers in the world are transformed from the life in the inflaming layer, frozen layer, and the hell world. In the plant world, they will have leaves, blossom, have fruit, reproduce and serve the insects, animals and humans. In their past cycles of life, they had consumed too many natural resources and had done nothing good for the insect world, the animal world and the human society. So they have to compensate for what they have done in the past in the plant world. In the fifth door, I saw the brutal scene where the law of the jungle was working. Every day all the animals were afraid of being eaten by other animals. Even those on top of the chain had to be cautious of being attacked by the humans or eaten by the same kind of animals. Meanwhile, they had to suffer from the old age and the enduring death from hunger. The angel said, "The people in the mortal world who have been domineering, bullying others, showing no sympathy or mercy, love to fight or rob, and don't sustain their parents would have to enter the animal world after their death and receive the punishment." I walked into the sixth door and saw people riding on the horse, the cows plowing or milking, the donkeys carrying goods, the dogs guarding the house, the cats hunting rats, the hens, ducks and geese laying eggs, the sheep providing wool, and the pigs supplying meat. The angel explained, "All the livestock are providing the most service as they can with the lowest demand. They do so because they had owed others when they were the humans. They had occupied others' property or land, received bribery, cheated others of their wealth with lies or fake goods, or failed to repay the debt. After they died, they would change into the animal husbandry and make compensations in the debtors' homes." I entered the seventh door and saw the scene in the mortal world. The people were noisy on the streets, some were crying and some were laughing. They were restless with nothing in their minds. The angel explained, "The mortal world is a transit station between the heaven and the hell. The wise people would engage in self-refinery and self-improvement. After they die, they would enter the heaven world. The unwise people lived with their mind blocked. They just followed the trend and kept breathing. In the next cycle of life, they would become human beings too. The foolish people spent their days blindly busy, trying to gain things at all costs. But they don't know the loss is gain and the gain is loss. The consequence is that they have overused their fortune and would be downgraded into the lower world." I asked the angel, "What behavior makes the best life?" The angel answered, "The wise life with the behavior of the spiritual nature makes the best." I asked again, "What is the wise life, the behavior of the spiritual nature?" The angel explained to me, "The Jehovah's Witnesses live ordinary family life without lust. They don't engage too much in the worldly grudges and concentrate on the pursuit of the future grace. This is the wise life with the behavior of the spiritual nature. The Buddhists and Taoists refining themselves in the temples also purse the highest spiritual nature at the lowest demand. They have seen through the vanity of the world and desire the Buddha state. This is also the wise life with the behavior of the spiritual nature. And the Muslims and Christians tolerate the dissidents and behave modestly. This is also the wise life with the behavior of the spiritual nature." Then what about the other people? Does it mean only those who believe the religions can live the wise life with behaviors of spiritual nature? I continued to ask. The angel answered, "To live the wise life with behaviors with spiritual nature, the people don't have to believe or join a religion. Those who become religion believers want to listen to the teachings, get into a proper environment, and strengthen belief through some rituals. If they have strong beliefs, they don't have to be confined by the rituals. Indeed, those who will become celestial beings might not think so in their mind, and those with the highest wisdom are often not the religion believers." Do the kings, emperors, ministers, heroes, great people, the rich, the dignitaries, the specialists and scholars in the mortal world live the wise life with the behaviors of spiritual nature? It depends on their heart and behaviors. In general, those who purse the worldly fame, wealth, position and welfare are not living the wise life with behavior of spiritual nature. The more they have gained in the mortal world, the less they will reserve in the celestial world, and less probable they will enter the celestial world. What about the common people? Most common people have no time to consider the deep life meaning because they are busy making a living. So their time is engaged in handling the daily affairs. Strictly speaking, their life is no different from that of the busy worms. Due to the shallow perception, it is difficult for them to establish the firm belief. Only a few common people know how to follow their nature, lead a natural life, and keep their mind at peace. If they can be educated properly, they can also live wise life with behavior of spiritual nature. Before I continued my question, the angel said, "You have stayed here too long. I can't explain too much, otherwise I will violate the heaven laws. Please, this is my last question. Can we see the celestial world from the mortal world?" The angel answered, "In general, you can't see the celestial world from the mortal world. Only a few designated people can see it. That's the mirage seen by the people in the mortal world." After that, I made rush visit to the 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world. In the Elysium world, I visited the cathode black hole body, the heaven world, the zero world, and holographic order world. Upon arriving at the 7th door, the angel pushed me into the door before I knew it. I felt faint and dropped into a black hole with my head down. Gradually, I lost my perception and memory. Moon Temple Continent. This is where the celestial beings listen to the teachings by the Allah, ancestor of the Buddha, and Yahweh. God's continent. This is where the God of the celestial world arranges the events for the celestial beings. Buddha. Supreme Authentic Wisdom Continent. This is where the apprentices of the ancestor of Buddha with the highest Buddha nature live. Apart from the above-mentioned 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, the Elysium world, inflaming layer, frozen layer, hell world, plant world, animal world, and livestock world, the other worlds include holographic order world. It refers to the protective outer layer of the Earth universe, just like the eggshell. It seems that it is composed of the high-energy cloud cluster. In the chaos world, once you have understood it, the thinking can enter the state of chaotic thinking, and you can have full perception of complete freedom in the God. At that time, everything you do is right, even if you kill hundreds of people, because you have been integrated with Tao. The zero world. It is where the Allah, ancestor of the Buddha, and Yahweh stays. The heaven world. It is the core of the Earth universe and where the God moves about administering the universe. The cathode black hole body. It is the planet with the highest energy in the universe, and where the gods violating the heaven laws are imprisoned. The anode black hole body. It is the womb of the females or women. The dream world. It is the negative space entered by the spiritual nature of the life in the subconsciousness. It is the vast space without the existence of time-space. The space reflects the history and current situation of the dreamers. In fact, it mainly reflects the future of the dreamer in metaphors instead of directly. Sometimes the reflection is reverse. All life will have dreams, not only the humans, but also the animals, plants, and celestial beings. The insect world. The world of the insects. The bacteria world. The world of bacteria. The landscape and climate world. The space where the mountains, stones, rivers, and weathers operate. The zero world, heaven world, Elysium world, cathode black hole body, 1,000-year world, and 10,000-year are the senior spaces of life. The livestock world, animal world, plant world, hell world, inflamed layer, and frozen layer are the junior spaces of life. The holographic order world, anode black hole body, dream world, insect world, bacteria world, and the landscape and climate world are the intermediate world.
灵觉比理性分析更保险。
Spiritual sense is more secure than rational analysis. Jiefeng. December 26, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Kayer. People have 6 senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch, and spirituality. Their perception and cognition of the material world depend on their 5 physical senses, while those of the non-material world depend on their final one, their spirituality. For example, the past and the future, heaven and hell, the physiological field and inner activities of others, and future good or bad luck cannot be recognized and perceived by their physical senses, but only by their spiritual perception and recognition. Perception and cognition of the future can be based on rational analysis, but that is extremely unreliable because it depends on pre-existing knowledge. While knowledge comes from the summary of practical experiences in life, the teachings of predecessors, and from books by way of the physical senses, these things have their limitations. Past experiences can never solve the difficulties and predicaments faced in the present and future. Furthermore, historical experiences are mostly distorted records, many of which might even have been fabricated based on limited clues, such as the abdications of Yao, Shun, and Yu, that people have always admired in Chinese history. Perhaps it was not at all as it was recorded in Sima Qian's historical records. It is useless to use unreliable knowledge and experiences to analyze and speculate on future scenarios, and the conclusions drawn by logical inferences from questionable things must also be considered unreliable. For example, if we want to know the value of a book before we read it, it is unreliable to rely on other people's introductions and recommendations. The most reliable way is to roll up the book and then touch the center of it with the palm of your hand to feel it. If what you feel in the palm of your hand is a blast of warmth, then this book will definitely be of value to you, but if you feel a current of cold air, then it will not be. Not only is it worthless, but it might also be harmful. Spiritual perception is like testing the value of something with the palm of your hand against a closed book. This method is simple and effective because the palm of your hand will not deceive you, whereas other people's introductions and recommendations can and may. The same is true when dealing with people. For example, if someone wants to add you to their social media contacts, then his or her first sentence, their small picture or video, or an article sent by them will tell you everything that you need to know. This depends on your spiritual sense. If you feel comfortable and refreshed, then you should approve this person, but if you feel uncomfortable and unpleasant or dark and dim, then they should probably be denied. When dealing with people, it is best to capture their first telepathy. If you feel good, then you should associate with them, but if you feel bad, then please stop immediately. Once you have dealt with people for a long time, you will develop rational analyses and cognitive judgments. At that time, cut it won't sever, sort it become messier. It is your troubling woe and an unspeakable taste fills your heart. Whether it is for a person, a theory, a religion, a political party, or a country, it is more effective to use spiritual perception and understanding. For the future, spiritual perception is more accurate. From this point of view, it is better to read fewer bad books and hear fewer bad words. The more messy knowledge and information that you know, the more spiritually insensitive you will be.
万年界一瞥
A glance at the 10,000-year world. Jiefeng. February 7, 2008, Chinese New Year's Eve. Translation edited by Qinyo. The misty waves extending into the distance, the blue waves stretching boundlessly, the clouds displaying 10,000 postures, and the thousands of sandy islets flush with color. These are the abundant scenes of the vast Songting Sea, dreamlike and illusory with its silver sandy beach clean and wide, winding and stretching. The Mayun Mountains tower against the sea, with overlapping peaks and endless stretches. Its main peak, Tongtian Peak, is 90,000 meters above sea level, tall and steep, majestic above the clouds. On the top of the peak, there is a sky-gazing cliff with a wide and flat ridge, about 2,000 square meters. Standing on the sky-gazing cliff, you have a wide field of vision. Looking up, observing the sun, moon and stars, witnessing the position changing of the stars. Looking down, you can see the sea of clouds and surging billows, the beautiful mountains and rivers. Looking far into the distance, the haze is gorgeous, magnificent and boundless, and you feel soothed and relaxed. Looking closely, the mountains are verdant with layers of emerald green. The silver waterfalls are flying and gurgling, and make people feel refreshing. The sky-gazing cliff is the most famous scenic spot in the 10,000-year world. Celestials with profound cultivation bases often fly here to absorb the essence of heaven and earth. They cultivate their sentiments, discuss sutra and Tao, and learn from others' strong points. Of the 100 million celestials in the 10,000-year world, only 8,000 of them can reach this place, the rest all cannot. Why? Because to get here you must rely on flying, and climbing is impossible, because there are no branches to climb and no roads to go. Celestials who arrive in the 10,000-year world for the first time do not have the ability to fly and must walk on the ground. Only after about 10,000 years of self-improvement can they fly 3 feet above the ground, and only after 20,000 years of self-cultivation can they fly above the lofty mountains and high ranges. To fly at an altitude of 80,000 meters requires 30,000 years of self-cultivation. Zigui, Danjing, Biao, Xiaoxia, Hanliang, Sangqing, Yishi, and Qiantong are the 8 celestials who reside in Fengming Ridge of the Hualing Mountains. The ridge is 30,000 kilometers away from Tongtian Peak. Today, all 8 celestials have cultivated their ability to fly up to 80,000 meters high. They exchanged smiles and then they soared into the sky, gradually rising to 10,000 meters in the air. They then flew along the Hualing Mountains. The mountains slid away behind them, and the winding rivers disappeared one by one. Layers and lumps of clouds and mists receded one after another. The feeling of flying is so wonderful and comfortable. Breaking through the 3-dimensional time and space and entering the 4-dimensional time and space feels like breaking free from a cage and being free and graceful. Words fail to capture the experience, Zigui exclaimed. 10,000 years within the cocoon, transforming flesh and bone, and once emerged as a butterfly soaring high. Without the connection with the divine akin to double wings, how could we ride the rainbow today? Biao echoed. After countless body training sessions, my spirit becomes awakened. Through spiritual cultivation, I am able to absorb invisible energy. Embryonic breathing is activated, revealing itself as a mystical power bestowed by the greatest creator. Han Liang also felt an urge and said, for 30,000 years of building the foundation, refining the essence, transforming qi and the spirit, perfecting the structure to be in one with the Tao, begin realizing how profound Tao is. After flying for about 10,000 kilometers, the Hualing Mountains finally vanished behind them, and an endless vast grassland lay ahead. This is the most famous Marj Sangqing grassland in the 10,000-year world. Here horses gallop, herds of deer relax, antelopes frisk, bison gallop, zebras play, camels lie idly, goshawks circle vigorously, gulls spread their wings freely, cranes and storks pose grandly, skylarks sing and dance, trumpet vines bloom all over the field, and meadow lilies the landscape like stars. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet blend together, resembling colorful pearls embedded in the green grassland. The blue sky, clean air, gentle breeze, and warm sunshine create a poetic and vibrant scene. Danjing was so happy she lost track of time. She let go of her voice and sang, "Beautiful Marj Sangqing, you are the garden of life. You are like a charming fairy. Make me look forward to for so long. Wandering on your vast chest, bathed in the flowery scenery of love. I want to throw myself into your arms and suck the fragrance of your tenderness to my heart's content." Listening to the song of Danjing, everyone couldn't help but land on the grassland. The 4 female celestials Zigui, Biao, Xiaoxia, and Yishi danced a rainbow dance on the green grass. The 4 female celestials are all about 1.76 meters tall, neither fat nor thin, with faces like peach blossoms, eyebrows like crescent moons, bright eyes and white teeth, cherry red lips, black hair like flowing clouds, heart-shaped chins, ruddy skin, long arms and legs, high breasts, waists like weeping willows, plump buttocks, and beautiful and curvy figures. While glancing, their eyes convey emotions and captivate the soul. While dancing, they are exceedingly charming and enchanting. Their supple bodies are like tender willow branches in spring. Their tenderness flows like waterfalls. They are over 30,000 years old but look like young girls in love. With profound Taoist cultivation, they behave like young maidens. Like buds just blooming, like flames burning, every movement is akin to goddesses scattering flowers, and their waist twists resemble dragons flying and phoenixes dancing. As the celestials of the 10,000-year world are all naked, their dance postures are particularly captivating, leaving endless afterthoughts, and every posture emits energy, presenting the delightful serenity of seclusion. The 4 male celestials Danjing, Hanliang, Sangqing, and Qiantong gradually enter the wonderland while admiring the dance, kneeling on the ground and shedding tears of gratitude, as if riding the clouds and fog to the palace of bliss, or like a quiet and cold pool, motionless, with strands of energy swirling in their bodies. Waves of joy overwhelm every cell beyond words. Come and chase me. Come and catch me. A clear and melodious shout and the subsequent laughter resounded on the grassland from far to near. Zigue and others stopped dancing and shaded their eyes with their hands and saw 6 beams of white light on the horizon in the distance approaching like lightning. Han Liang opened his throat and made a trumpet shape with his hands and shouted, "Hey! Please come here." Suddenly 6 beams of white light flew to them. It turned out to be 2 female celestials and 4 male celestials. The leading one was a female celestial named Sighing, followed by Dama, Sola, Jiefan, Naji, and Sijia. When seeing the 8 celestials such as Zigue and others, Sighing was overjoyed. She circled around the 8 celestials like a whirlwind, giggling and asking, "Who are you? How did you come to this March Sangqing grassland?" Zigue took the lead in responding, "We come from Fengming Ridge of Hualing Mountain, and are heading to Tongtian Peak of Mayun Mountain. When we passed by here and saw the picturesque scenery, we couldn't help but stop and be captivated. Brothers and sisters, what are you all doing here?" Upon learning that the 8 celestials were heading to Tongtian Peak, Sighing and the others realized that they had already attained the highest level of oneness with Tao achievable by a celestial in the 10,000-year world. A good karma was hard to find. Naji replied promptly, "We are 6 celestials from the Taiji Palace in Xiaoxiang Ridge, Tiandan Mountain, which is 200 miles away from here at the end of the grassland. Today we came out to practice flying on the grasslands. Currently we can only fly 8 feet above the ground. We are fortunate to meet esteemed celestials like you today. We hope you will stay at the Taiji Palace for a few days and impart your celestial teachings to us." As soon as Sighing finished speaking, she grabbed Zigue's hand and exclaimed, "You must come with us. You must." Zigue cast a loving glance at everyone and had already ascended 8 feet into the air, flying forward arm in arm with Sighing. The rest of the celestials joyfully took flight and followed suit. In the blink of an eye, 14 male and female celestial beings had already flown to the foot of Tiandan Mountain. Flying forward for 60 miles along the mountain's base, they arrived at Xiaoxiang Ridge. Here clouds billowed and steamed, the purple mist lingering, the mountain flowers blooming, the fruits fragrant, and the clear stream rushing. 100 kinds of birds playing and chasing among the branches in the forest, the sound of water, the wind, the swaying of the branches and the graceful chirping of the birds merged into a symphony of heaven. Landing from the clouds, the celestials walked slowly up along a mountain path. Along the path, they saw little squirrels jumping among the branches, koala bears hugging the tree trunk and tilting their heads to watch, long-tailed monkeys hanging upside down on the branches and swinging, and elk drinking water leisurely in the mountain stream. After a while, the celestials came to Taiji Palace. Stood outside the gate of Taiji Palace, the breeze is gentle, cool, and refreshing. The scenery is beautiful, which nourishes the heart and pleases the eyes. The Taiji Palace is back to Xiaoxiang Mountain, facing the Natsong River, with the winding Tiandan Mountains on the left, and the Yingxiao Pool on the right surrounded by mountains. It is truly a geomantic treasure land with the vermilion bird to the front, the black tortoise to the back, the azure dragon to the left, and the white tiger to the right. Especially the Natsong River, which is like a white-silver chain meandering and floating on the opposite vast Yuniriyuan plain, like a dragon moving vigorously, like a silver bridge hanging on the river. Sangqing couldn't help but praise sincerely. Auspicious scene Xiaoxiang Ridge, geomantic treasure Taiji Palace, created by nature with extremely fine craftsmanship, blissful sensations arise on this fairyland. Everyone, please enter the Taiji Palace and rest for a while. Sijia greeted courteously. Zigue and others entered the Taiji Palace one after another. One could see that the Taiji Palace was as bright as day, and the 8 treasures of splendor glittered with soft light. There were 8 cushions in the center of the palace, which were placed according to the 8 directions of Qian, Kuan, Sun, Dui, Zhen, Zhan, Li, Qian, which are not only a place to rest, but also a place to practice. It turned out that there were also 8 male and female celestials living in this Taiji Palace. Besides Sighing, Dama, Sola, Jiefan, Naji, Sijia, there are also Kunhe and Bairue. Looking at the expressions in the eyes of Zigue and the others, sensitive Dama immediately cleared their doubts. Kunhe and Bairue went to explore the mysterious gorge, and they will be back in a few days. The 8 treasures of splendor mentioned above consist of sunlight diamond, jadeite blue, agate jade, amethyst glaze, emerald, cat's eye yellow, olive red, and crystal rock. People who have read The 10,000-Year World know that the planet, the 10,000-year world, is 16 times larger than the Earth, and there are 16 stars of different densities arranged equidistantly in the sky, which divides the 10,000-year world into 16 zones with different luminosity. One of the zones is the dark night zone, which is eternal night, and it is precisely this dark night zones that accommodates countless kinds of gemstones in various forms, and is shining in the dark night. Therefore, all the celestials of the 10,000-year world will come here to collect and carry gems in this zone to decorate the caves where they live. The gems can not only illuminate the caves, but also be absorbed essence from, and make the caves colorful and dreamy. The flight of more than 10,000 kilometers drained the vitality of Zigue and the other 7 celestials, necessitating an urgent replenishment of energy. Sighing and the other 5 celestials also felt fatigued. The 4 celestials Sola, Jiefan, Naji, and Sijia walked out of the cave and picked some delicious peaches, delicate grapes, sweet melons, and moist stamens soon after. They presented these fruits respectfully to Zigue and the other 7 celestials. Zigue and the others looked at the melons and fruits and smiled. "You can use it. We only need 8 cushions for a while." It turns out that the food of the celestials in the 10,000-year world varies according to the depth of their cultivation. Celestials who have just arrived need to eat hard fruits such as walnuts and dates, while those who have been there for over 10,000 years can eat soft fruits such as peaches and grapes. Celestials that are more than 20,000 years old do not eat fruits but only drink mineral-rich mountain spring water, while celestials over 30,000 years old no longer eat any tangible substances, but directly absorb the brilliance of the sun and moon, and the vital energy of heaven and earth. While Sighing, Dama, Swola, Jiefan, Naji, and Sijia were eating fruits, they watched carefully as the 8 celestials took their seats on the cushions, in accordance with the 8 trigrams directions. The 4 male celestials Danjing, Hanliang, Sangqin, and Changtong sit on the location of Qian, Li, Sun, and Zhen, and the 4 female celestials Zigue, Biao, Xiaoxia, and Ishi sit on the direction of Dui, Zhan, Kan, and Kuan. They were all sitting cross-legged with their left and right feet overlapped, and the female celestials folded their hands below their navel while the male celestial slightly bent his palms, placing them lightly on their knees with palms facing up. With their eyes and mouth closed, attention fixed, and breath regulated, they entered the state of fetal aspiration, looking like a sculpture. Internally, following their mind's guidance, a stream of essential qi entered their governing vessel through their Bai Hui, Sishinkong acupoints, going through and absorbed by the large intestine meridian of the hand Yangming, the small intestine meridian of the hand Taiyang, the triple energizer meridian of the hand Shaoyang, the stomach meridian of the foot Yangming, the bladder meridian of the foot Taiyang, and the gallbladder meridian of the foot Shaoyang, and the impure qi was expelled from their Shangyang, Shaochong, Jin, and Zitanga acupoints. Another stream of essential qi flowed from their Huyin and Yongquan acupoints into their conception vessel, absorbing the essence and energy through the hand Taiyin lung meridian, hand Shaoyin heart meridian, hand Juan pericardium meridian, foot Taiyin spleen meridian, foot Shaoyin kidney meridian, and foot Juan liver meridian, and expelling impure qi from their Zhongchong, Shaoshang, Yinbai, etc. acupoints. At this moment, the energy from the confluence of the conception and governor vessel, Ran and Du meridians, converged and spouted from the 4 acupoints of Hai Quan, Juchuan, Yue, and Jin, filling their mouths with saliva. The saliva continuously flowed through their esophagus into their abdomen, and in a short while their dantian was filled with energy, their fatigue was gone, their spirit reappeared, and their light of nature was complete. The 8 celestials slowly opened their eyes, slightly parted their lips, deeply and slowly inhaled, then exhaled slowly, smiled, and stood up from the cushions. Sighing, Dama, Swola, Jiefan, Naji, and Sijia watched closely, understanding the principle that eating qi makes one deity-like. Zigue and the other 7 celestials then explained in detail the principles and methods of eating qi. After a few days, the 8 celestials bid farewell to Sighing, Dama, Swola, Jiefan, Naji, and Sijia, and ascended into the air from the Taiji Palace Gate, flying towards the Tongtian Peak in the Mayun Mountains. They flew over the Bixiao Mountains, the Yuhua Mountains, the 800-mile Xiubo Lake, the 900-mile Seifiaqui Plain, the celestial Fascinated Gorge, the Valley of 10,000 Birds, the surging Blue Nephrite River, and the Double Ocean River, and arrived at Qiandao Lake, which spans over 160,000 hectares, approximately 10,000 kilometers away from Tongtian Peak. The expansive lake, seen from high altitude, resembled a blue curtain adorned with emerald pearls, offering beautiful scenery with crystal clear, soft, shimmering waves, and presenting diverse and auspicious postures. Meanwhile, on an island called Coral Bamboo, 16 celestial beings were observed practicing walking on the lake's surface. Zigui and the others visited Coral Bamboo Island and demonstrated, and explained the key points of walking on the water to the other celestials. Due to space limitations, the scene and plot are omitted. On this day, the 8 celestials flew to the Pure Bath Garden, which is only 100 kilometers away from the Tongtian Peak. It is the holiest place in the 10,000 years world, where peculiar avoidance of vulgarism trees grow, magical psychic flowers bloom, and magical upward-flowing springs flow. The purple air on the ground is steaming, especially in a small and serene pool. Its temperature changes wonderfully. It is sometimes scalding hot, sometimes bone-chilling, sometimes spewing, and sometimes quiet. Only those who have practiced for more than 30,000 years can enter the Pure Bath Garden, the holy place. Those who have not cultivated enough will feel a strong repulsive force when they come to the edge of the garden, and will feel restless and uncomfortable all over. Those who have cultivated enough will feel a strong pulling force when they come to the edge of the garden, and will feel calm and refreshed, and their energy will increase significantly. Therefore, any celestial who wants to fly to the Tongtian Peak must come here to verify their own cultivation. Only those who can enter the Pure Bath Garden can fly to the Tongtian Peak. The 8 celestials came to the Pure Bath Garden, feeling completely relaxed and happy. They felt a pulling force on them and then smoothly entered it. Details omitted. They bathed in the sacred pool, and after the bath, they thoroughly remolded and emitted an exotic fragrance. This fragrance was like sandalwood, tuberose, musk, jasmine, rose, geranium, cinnamon, lavender, but it was none of them. It penetrated the heart and lungs, drunk one's innermost, connect divinities, open Buddha eyes, lighten one's bones, and enhance their energy. The 8 celestials bathed in this fragrance and suddenly felt light and drifted straight up to 80,000 meters high, as if they were clouds blown by the wind, if not guided by intention. The 8 celestials wanted to go to Tongtian Peak, so in the blink of an eye, they had already floated to the sky-gazing cliff of Tongtian Peak. The sky-gazing cliff is a place where countless senior celestials rainbow over the ages. In the sky above the sky-gazing cliff, there is a pyramid tower made up of nearly 10,000 stars and planets. The tower is where universal energy converges and radiates onto the sky-gazing cliff. Being at the sky-gazing cliff, one can feel the energy overflowing throughout the body, incomparably comfortable. When the energy they absorbed is enough, the structure of their lifts undergoes a sudden mutation, and their Buddha eyes open, being able to see the mysteries of the universe. It is at this moment that many celestials who came to the sky-gazing cliff began to rainbow. Their entire body will transform into a green smoke and disperse, while the light of nature of their life will turn into a rainbow of 7 colors and fly toward the continent for 3 realms' lives to pass through at a lightning speed, and then go to other heavenly worlds. The 8 celestials Zigui, Danjing, Biao, Xiaoxia, Hanliang, Sangqing, Yishi, and Qiantong arrived at the sky-gazing cliff, as if they were in a void. They saw the blue waves of the Tsongting Sea are boundless and connecting the horizon, and the lofty Maoyun mountain range extending far into the sky, and on the sky-gazing cliff, nearly 100 senior celestials had already arrived and were holding their breaths, concentrating, and receiving energy from the pyramid tower. Just as they were watching without knowing what to do, a celestial elder named Greeting Celestial appeared. He was specifically responsible for guiding the male and female celestials who flew to the sky-gazing cliff on how to absorb energy from the pyramid tower and then rainbow. The communication between the 8 celestials and the Greeting Celestial was not through language, but through symbols and telepathy, truly a same mind sensing each other. The 8 celestials quickly entered the state according to the guidance of the celestial elder. After an unknown amount of time, perhaps a moment, perhaps hundreds of years, when Danjing, Sangqing, and Ishi came back to their senses, Zigui, Biao, Xiaoxia, Hanliang, and Qiantong had disappeared. It turned out that the 5 celestials had already rainbowed and disappeared without a trace, while the remaining 3 still needed to continue cultivating in the 10,000-year world for some time. They were not worried and, following the guidance of the celestial elder, they flew to the Fairy Garden Canyon, where the ginseng fruit grows. To find out whether Danjing, Sangqing, and Ishi ate the ginseng fruit in the Fairy Garden Canyon and how they continued to cultivate, especially the cultivation of male-female dual cultivation without physical contact, interested readers can refer to a second glance at the 10,000-year world. Note: the 1 day and time mentioned in this article are purely for the sake of convenience in narration. In reality, the 10,000-year world does not have such a time concept. Please understand.
千年接二瞥
Another glance at the 1,000-year world. Jiefeng. January 18, 2000.